Hey there. I am going to talk about today about hormones, nutrition, and the different phases of menopause, whether you are premenopausal, perimenopausal, or postmenopausal. So, what if that healthy afternoon snack that you think is actually good for you is actually making your hormones worse and your symptoms more challenging for you? I am Mary Louise Rose. I am a health coach. I work with women to help with their accountability to be able to actually begin to hit those health goals that they've established for themselves. We work with nutrition, fitness, mindset, your nervous system, cortisol levels, all those things that are an integral part of being your happiest, healthiest self. Um, with spring nutrition, things need to be looked at a little bit differently with your health because it's shifted. The season has changed. The way that you help your health and be better, be more healthy is also needs to be different and considered. Your liver is your hormone headquarters. So considering what it is you're eating in regards to your hormones, if you have a sluggish liver, your hormones, they're not going to be able to process through. So you want to make sure that you're considering that and what is it that you're doing to help your body digest, process. If your liver isn't functioning correctly, you're going to have fatigue and bloating, mood swings. You're going to have stubborn weight that won't budge, won't move. I think we all have felt that frustration before with why isn't this working for me? What's going on? How do I make it better? Again, considering like your spring foods, what is it that you're eating? How can you add in different things to make it better? You want to consider bitter greens, the more green items, and getting that in, thinking about like spinach, broccoli, things like that, cruciferous vegetables as well. What is it that in your area, what is it that's being grown in the gardens right now? That's what you want to be adding into your diet and your nutrition. What are some warming spices that I can use in my cooking to be able to get your body functioning, moving better, and helping your digestion and things like that throughout the season? And so the biggest thing, again, thinking about, okay, what's being grown in the garden? What are the things that I can add into my nutrition to help support me? If you can't get to like a farmer's market or something like that, be sure to purchase things that are in the freezer section. Frozen broccoli is something really great to purchase because you can then steam that and have that for meals, or different things, different vegetables that would be in season in the garden, but purchasing them as a frozen option. And not getting, like, when I say buy frozen broccoli, I don't mean to buy the broccoli that has like a cheese sauce added on or extra toppings and things like that. Just get the broccoli where they picked it at peak freshness. They cut it, they flash froze it, and then put it in the freezer section for you to have access to. Don't get the broccoli that has a bunch of extra additives, things like that. So considering that when you're looking at a frozen vegetable option, um, do not be focused on like, I need to do a detox. I need to like totally shift everything and, cut out all of this, all of that. Just make a seasonally appropriate a transition to things that are going to be more, seasonally in alignment. Again, what is being grown in the gardens where you are, what is seasonally appropriate for right now. Remember too that like one size does not fit all. What worked for a friend to help them lose a lot of weight to feel better is not necessarily what's going to work for you. So trial and error, working on different things, figuring out what feels good, what is sustainable for you, what you can actually stick to and show up for. that's going to be what matters most and the better option than trying to force yourself to do something that someone else is doing, whether that be doing fasting or like a keto diet or carnivore diet, something like that. Make sure that you're doing what works for you, not just jumping on the latest fad or trend, actually listening to your body, paying attention to what it's telling you. Your early 30s are not the same as once you hit perimenopause or once you've transitioned over to postmenopause. You have very different needs. And that's part of what I'm wanting to share with people is remembering that what worked for you in your 20s, your early 30s is not going to be the same thing that's going to work for you necessarily in your 40s once you've hit perimenopause. So, fortunately, unfortunately, we are constantly changing, shifting, and evolving as we go through the phases of menopause. And so, not trying to force yourself into or through something that worked before, but might not necessarily be in alignment with your body now with the hormone shifts of the different phases of menopause. So, giving yourself some grace there of, this worked before, why isn't it working now? Well, you may be in a different phase, and that may be exactly why what worked before isn't working now. And being careful when you're looking at other advice and suggestions that a lot of that advice is not paying attention and talking about your menopause phase. So being careful that you're not taking advice that's considered like a one size fits all and trying to fit that into the box that you're in now, and being willing to listen to your intuition, your inner knowing of this is what I should do. This is what I've tried. This is what actually works really well for me, and do what works. So, most women, early 20s into your 30s, your premenopause. And if you have questions about like what phase you're in, I have a quiz that's coming that I'm really excited about, because you'll be able to take that and have a better understanding and a better knowing as to where you are. And so when I talk about the different phases, you'll better understand what you should be doing and how you should be working in that phase. So pre-menopause, most women they're eating the same way every single day, and they don't have any issues with that. The body works well. Hormones are still fully, estrogen, testosterone, all of that is good, and that there's no issues. Your hormones are going to shift across 4 phases every month: luteal, ovulation, and the 4 different phases. Totally just went blank in that moment, but the different phases of your hormone cycle, and those are like, you could time exactly what they are. And hormones are good. Premenopause, it's a great time to be able to go, okay, I know what to expect. Things are going to be similar every month, every week, throughout the month in between your periods. Your food needs to shift with those different hormone phases, and you're going to pay attention to follicular phase and luteal phase and work differently with those, and make sure that you're listening to your body and leaning into what it's telling you that you need in those different segments of your menstrual cycle. And in my blog on nutrition, there is a full breakdown of what you should be doing, what you should be adding in for your follicular phase versus luteal and things like that. And then during your period, what you should be paying attention and adding in there as well. In perimenopause, which on average begins at about age 40, but again, I'm going to have a quiz coming out that's going to have more information on that, and you'll be able to better figure out where you are. You want to make sure that the most important goal is looking at blood sugar stability. So paying attention to that. Where is your blood sugar? How is your body functioning and responding to what you're eating, how you're moving throughout the day? You want to not pay as much attention to calorie count, macros, things like that, but more attention to blood sugar and like, what is it that my blood sugar, where is my blood sugar? How is that supporting me? Or how is that hurting me? Unstable blood sugar levels, you're going to have cortisol spikes, which I'm sure you've heard a lot about cortisol and how we need to be careful with that, because that puts your body into wanting to like seize up and hold on to all of the calories and not let your body lose weight, which then can be very frustrating. Your estrogen, again, that can fluctuate more widely, be all over the place, and not really sure how your body's going to react and respond, because your estrogen is moving all around and you're not able to really anticipate what's going to happen. Your sleep can get worse, so you're going to want to do eat things, drink things that are going to help support sleep so that you get a better restful night's sleep at night, so that then you can function better the next day. And I also have some tips and tricks that I work with my clients on to help them get better quality sleep at night so they can function better the next day. You're going to get probably frustrated with midsection weight. And how do you move that? How do you shift that? Again, that's where your nutrition is key. That's where your sleep is vital, because it's going to allow those things to shift and move through. And you're going to feel better in the end because you've done those things to help that weight move and shift. And you're going to like your reflection that much more in the mirror and feel that confidence. So paying attention to your nutrition, things like that. One thing that can play a really good role in the blood sugar spike, the midsection weight, is making sure that whenever you're breaking your fast, whether that is your breakfast meal, your lunch meal, whatever it is, that you're getting at least 30 grams of protein in that first meal during the day, because that's going to communicate with your body. It's going to set you up for success for the rest of the day. So consider, okay, what am I eating when I'm breaking my fast, my first meal of the day? Does it include 30 grams of protein? If it doesn't, what could you do to shift and change that so that you're getting in that protein the first meal of the day and setting yourself up for success? Again, in my blog, there is more information if you want to dive more into that and to better understand what it is, if you're in perimenopause, what it is that you should be doing to support your body with nutrition. Post-menopausal ladies, let's chat about you a little bit. Your protein needs are going to go up, not down. So you're going to want to be even more focused on protein and how can I be getting more protein in? What are ways that I can supplement and support my body to get in quality protein more often? Most women are under eating protein because they are focused on other areas, or they're not even hitting a good quality calorie zone for the day. And they're under eating maybe everything and getting under 1,200 calories. So their body is actually in a starvation mode. So again, protein is especially key in that first meal of the day, and then every meal throughout. How can you add in protein here and there? And there's some really cool tips, tricks, hacks, ways to get more protein just kind of naturally added in. With low protein, you're going to struggle to maintain muscle. So another reason protein is important. And so getting that in. And when your muscle decreases, your estrogen is also going to decrease. So protein is key for muscles. Muscles are key for estrogen. So again, protein, protein, protein. How can you get it in? How can you add more in to your meals throughout the day? You want to be about 1 to 2 to 1.6 grams per pound of body weight. So again, when you're perimenopausal, you're looking at 1 gram per pound of weight. When you're postmenopausal, you want to be thinking 1.2 to 1.6 grams per pound of weight. So keeping that in mind, that protein is key if you're postmenopausal. And again, in the blog, there's a much more of a deep dive into that. So making sure that you take time to read that, figure out what phase you're in, and pay more attention to that area for yourself. So some of the questions that I've received on this topic, one was, is fruit bad in perimenopause? So fruit in general is not bad at any phase. Considering, like I talked about in perimenopause, focusing on those blood sugar spikes and things like that, you want to make sure that when you're getting sugar from fruits, that it's sugar from fresh fruit or frozen fruit. Again, no additives, nothing extra, and not sugars from artificial sugars, things like that. Fruit sugars are good in moderation. We don't want to eat a ton of fruit during the day, but being mindful of how much you're consuming and getting in some enough, because you don't want to teetotal, oh, fruit has sugar in it and I'm not eating any sugar, so I'm not going to eat any fruit. Your body needs what it gets from fruit. Wonderful powerhouse fruit is wild frozen blueberries. I keep those in my freezer, use those at different places to help support my body. Great antioxidant. Sugar from natural fruits. The wild blueberries are so much better than those that have been grown in a greenhouse or mass produced, things like that. So keeping that in mind, frozen wild blueberries are a great thing to have on hand. And fruit in moderation is great. You don't want to get it where it's got that added, like a syrup or something like that that's been added in. You also want to compare your fruit maybe with a protein or a fat, and it will process and digest in your body very differently. So thinking about like fruit with a healthy fat would be like a handful of almonds or a nut of some sort. Or maybe you're having like a healthy jerky stick, like a Chomps or a Paleo Valley meat stick with your fruit, maybe an apple or something like that as well. So thinking about the pairing and what you're eating with the fruit, and again, the quality of the fruit that you're eating. Intermittent fasting, what are my thoughts on that? Fasting is good for your body because when you're not eating, your body has an opportunity to focus on digesting only, processing that food. What is it doing with the food? How is it pulling nutrients from what you've consumed? And if you're constantly eating from the time you get up in the morning until the time you go to bed, the only time that your body has to rest and digest that food is while you're sleeping. And then that just becomes very taxing on your body. Intermittent fasting is great, but you don't want to do the same eating window every single day. You don't want to open your eating window at 8 a.m. and close your eating window at 7 p.m. every single day, because your body's just going to get adjusted to that timing and it's going to not work at its optimum. You want to change up your intermittent fasting window or your fasting window every day, every couple days, just to keep your body functioning and like guessing of, okay, what are we doing? How are we responding? And making sure that you're changing that up. So paying attention to that. If you're eating mid-morning to lunchtime one day, and that's when you're breaking your fast, and then you're ending your window at 7 p.m., doing that. Or maybe you're breaking your fast at 8 a.m., but you're not eating after lunch and you're starting your fasting window there. Those are great opportunities to shift up things, and occasionally do a 24-hour fast where you eat dinner and you're finished dinner by 7 p.m. You don't eat the next day until 6:30 p.m., and giving your body that whole 24-hour window to rest, digest, and process through what you've fed it and how it can function and work with what you've given it. Again, there's more in the blog. I'm always happy to jump on a one-to-one call and talk about that further to see what it is that works well for you, what you're doing now, and how you could shift things to better process the food you've given your body and how to help it digest better. I've had people say that they're eating healthy, but they still feel bloated. And so that isn't strictly with concerns to what they're eating, but it could be the liver, again, like I started talking about. It could be how your liver is digesting and processing what you've eaten. It could be a hydration issue, a mineral issue. There's so many things that you can then like touch on and dive into and go, okay, so it's not what you're eating because you're eating quality nutrition, quality foods. Maybe it's how you're eating. Maybe it's the hydration. Maybe it's the minerals you're putting into your body or lack of. And so beginning to look at those things on a one-to-one basis of what are you doing? What could you be doing better or differently to support your body? And again, everybody is different. Everyone has a different experience. What works for one may not work for another. So keeping that in mind as you go through the journey and figuring things out. Should you track macros? You can, but you don't necessarily have to. Our bodies are very intuitive and just we have that like inner knowing what we should be, how we should be eating and things like that. And we get so far away from listening to our body and listening to that intuition. And we start like second guessing, should I, shouldn't I? This person said this person said that. When at the end of the day, the best voice we have is what's within us and how we are naturally tending to function and look for to support ourselves. So I hope that this was helpful. And if you want more information, I would love to have a conversation, jump on a call, discuss your personal individual situation and ways that you could better help support your body and be able to show up better for yourself and have better digestion, feel great in your body day to day and doing what is going to work for you. I will leave the blog link in the comments. Feel free to go there and see some additional information. Feel free to message me and we can jump on a call, have a conversation about your specific situation and what may work better for you to be able to see the results that you've been working for but haven't been able to achieve and see. Feel free to subscribe and follow. Thank you.